चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna.
गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस गुरुदेवाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसे भक्त वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस गुरुदेवाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्त सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। All glorious assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glorious assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glorious assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories. Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtapraye Shabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Rottama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, entitled The Passing Away of Bhishmadev. Sapadi sakhi sapadi sakhi vacho nishamya madhye nija parayor balayor ratham niveshya sthitavati parasainikāyo rakshna ritavati partha sakhe ratir mamastu sapadi sakhi vacho nishamya madhye निज परयोर्बलयोः रथं निवेश्य स्थितवती परसैनिकायुरक्ष्णा ऋतवती पार्थ सखे रतिर्ममास्तु सपदि सखिवचो निशम्य मध्ये निज परयोर्बलयोः रथं निवेश्य स्थितवती परसैनिकायुरक्ष्णा ऋतवती पार्थ सखे रतिर्ममास्तु. Namastu. Rayorvalayorvatam niveshya padisakhivacho nishamya nishaparayorvalayoratam niveshya siddhavati parasainikaya rakshna ritavati partha sakhe ratirmamastu. Sapadi on the battlefield. Sakhivacha, command of the friend. Nishamya, after hearing. Madhye, in the midst. Nija, his own. Parayo, and the opposite party. Balayo, strength. Ratham, chariot. Niveshya, having entered. Sthitavati, while staying there, Parasainika of the soldiers on the opposite side. Ayu, duration of life. Akshana, by looking over. Ritavati, act of diminishing. Partha of Arjuna, son of Pritha, that is Kunti. Sakhe, unto the friend. Rati, intimate relation. Mama, my. Astu, let there be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhan. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 1.21 to 25, Arjuna ordered the infallible Lord Sri Krishna to place his chariot between the phalanxes of the soldiers. He asked him to stay there until he had finished observing the enemies he had to face in the battle. When the Lord was so asked, he at once did so, just like an order carrier. And the Lord pointed out all the important men on the opposite side, saying, here is Bhishma, here is Drona, and so on. The Lord, being the supreme living being, is never the order supplier or order carrier of anyone, whoever he may be. But out of his causeless mercy and affection for his pure devotees, sometimes he carries out the order of the devotees like an awaiting servant. By executing the order of a devotee, the Lord becomes pleased, as a father is pleased to carry out the order of his small child. This is possible only out of pure transcendental love between the Lord and his devotees. And Bhishma Dev was quite aware of this fact. He therefore addressed the Lord as the friend of Arjuna. The Lord diminished the duration of life of the opposite party by his merciful glance. It is said that all the fighters who assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained salvation by personally seeing the Lord at the time of death. Therefore, his diminishing the duration of life of Arjuna's enemy does not mean that he was partial to the cause of Arjuna. Actually, he was merciful to the opposite party because they would not have attained salvation by dying at home in the ordinary course of life. Here was a chance to see the Lord at the time of death and thus attain salvation from material life. Therefore, the Lord is all good, and whatever he does is for everyone's good. Apparently, it was for the victory of Arjuna, his intimate friend, but factually, it was for the good of Arjuna's enemies. Such are the transcendental activities of the Lord, and whoever understands this also gets salvation after quitting this material body. The Lord does no wrong in any circumstance because he is absolute, all good at all times. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahamayam Tadati Shvapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Uta Pidakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Samadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padar Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमा ओम विश्वपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती नित्य नामिने वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Thank you all very much for joining Srimad Bhagavatam. Very honored and happy to be in Bangalore, in ISKCON South Bangalore, ICC, or the temple, Grand Temple of Shri Radha Vinod. Very beautiful deities. Very happy to see the wonderful deities and the devotees who are maintaining the entire community of devotees as well as the temple. This is a continuation of Bhishma's prayers, passing away of Bhishma Dev. Previous chapter was Kunti Maharani's prayers, and here Bhishma is continuing to offer his prayers while he is lying on the battlefield. So just to see a brief recap here, and we will discuss 5 sub themes in this particular section of this particular purport of Srimad Bhagavatam. One is about the order carrier, how Prabhupada explains Krishna was acting as an order carrier for Arjuna. We'll discuss about merciful glance. Prabhupada is describing Krishna's merciful glance diminished the duration of life of the enemies. We'll discuss about dying in presence of the Lord. Here, right, Bhishmadev is in front of the Lord. He is about to give up his body. We'll discuss how Prabhupada says Krishna is all good, absolute at all times. That means even when he is killing the enemies, he is still good. So how Lord is all good, absolute Lord. And towards the end, we'll discuss about cultivating attraction for the Lord. Bhishmadev is praying here, let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. So I'll just read the translation again. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhan. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. This is Bhishma's prayers. So the background is that Yudhishthira Maharaj is feeling a great remorse. So many, it's like practically a massacre has happened. At some place, Bhagavatam explains 64 crores of people died in the battlefield. So it's a huge number. Today's India's population is said to be 130, 140 crores. So to say that 64 crores, it's quite a huge number. And Yudhishthira Maharaj felt he was personally responsible for all that which has happened. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj's thinking is, Duryodhan was ruling. What was the issue? Just to put me on the throne, so much massacre happened. So he genuinely felt remorse. And by Krishna's arrangement, he tried to consult. He was not able to be consoled even by Vasudev. He was not able to console even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Prabhupada says Krishna in the heart of, Paramatma in the heart of Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted him to be guided towards Bhishma only. Even so eventually Yudhishthira Maharaj approaches Bhishma, and this Prabhupada explains in one of the purports how Krishna actually makes this wonderful arrangement. Because the reasons why Yudhishthira Maharaj is able to be consoled only by Bhishma is Krishna's arrangement. Because Krishna wants his devotee Bhishma to get the credit. to get the credit that he was the only one who could console Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was not able to be consoled even by Vyasdev, who is a literary incarnation of Krishna, and also by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Krishna is putting himself in that position to glorify Bhishma. He was ultimately consoled by Bhishma. Next, Prabhupada explains that Krishna wanted Bhishma to be able to leave his body peacefully, looking at the Pandavas who were basically fatherless grandchildren for Bhishma. Fatherless grandchildren, they are now ascending on their throne. That's why Krishna asks the Pandavas specifically to come dressed in royal robes. At least when Bhishma is leaving his body, he will be able to see the Pandavas have finally got their kingdom. Because Bhishma is praying, Aho Kashtam, Aho Anyayam, Yadyoyam Dharmanandana. What kind of trauma, what kind of tribulations these Pandavas have gone through. And in what situations? Vipra, Dharma, Achyuta, Ashraya. They have actually taken shelter of Vipra, Brahmanas, Achyuta, Lord Supreme Lord is present with them, and Dharma. They have taken shelter of all, still they are suffering. What all they have gone through. Aho Kashtam, Aho Anyayam. To see them at the last stage of his life, Bhishma would be able to leave his body peacefully. Another reason Prabhupada explains that Krishna wanted Bhishma to leave his body in his presence. That means when the Lord, Supreme Lord is present himself. Because Bhishma is having Ichha Mrityu. He can leave his body anytime he wants. But he is still waiting. Apparently, some would say that he is waiting for the Uttarayan, for this particular moment. But from a spiritual perspective, he is also waiting for Krishna to be personally present there. Krishna is facilitating by being present in front of his devotee when the devotee needs him the most. Krishna makes himself available in front of such a surrendered devotee. And also it is said that Krishna wants to show that Bhishma's knowledge is beyond. That means even Vyasdev was not able to console, even so-called Krishna was also not able to console, but Bhishma Dev was able to console. And that's why we see there is a lot of knowledge that is being transferred here by Bhishma on the, we can say, on the bed of arrows. It was not a cushion bed, it was a bed of arrows where he is able to communicate this message. Another most important factor, which characteristic which Krishna wants to highlight, is the consciousness of a devotee who is about to leave his body. Look at Bhishma's consciousness. When he is about to leave his body, how much pain people usually are. And what to speak of lying on the bed of arrows. But even in that situation, Bhishma's, as Prabhupada says, clarity of thoughts, consciousness, extremely clear. Just like even Srila Prabhupada, when he was about to leave his body, giving the Bhaktivedanta purports, even at the last phase of his life, continuously serving, and the devotees explain how there is clarity of thoughts and the consciousness is fixed on Krishna. So Bhishma Dev is giving him instructions about the duties of a king, duties of a woman, talking about varnashram, acts of charity. So various subject matters Bhishma Dev is beginning to speak. And at one point of time, he just withdraws and says, now let me invest my mind, my consciousness on Krishna. This is Bhishma Deva's unique ability. Whole life he has been serving in so-called political administrative activities. Whole life he has been involved in that. And that also serving with, in Kaurava's side, doing administration. But the last phase of his life, he's just able to completely withdraw from all the worldly things, from all the politics, everything else. And he says, like, even in this verse, the whole series of verses we can see here, at the end he's saying, let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. I want to withdraw from everything. That's why when we come to temple, it's a very wonderful opportunity for us. Let us withdraw from everything that is happening outside. When we go for yatras, when we come on a spiritual satsang programs associating with devotees, gives us an opportunity to withdraw ourselves from everything else which is worldly and focus ourselves completely on the Supreme Lord. And our Lord is so reciprocative. He's he makes himself available, present before such a surrendered devotee. That's what we see in this beautiful episode. So the themes of this purport, talking about order carrier. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, Bhishma Dev is saying, in obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna, entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhan. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. So in the purport, Prabhupada talks about how Krishna has been a order carrier. Unfortunately, people in this world treat the Supreme Lord as an order carrier. When people come to the temple, you know, a typical mentality, attitude, we can say, just ring the bell and people feel, here is my wish list, and present it in front of the Lord. They feel as if the Lord is their order carrier. But when we understand from scriptures, what is the supreme position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? In the Rajasuya Yagya, Yudhishthira Maharaj, when so many kings were present there, so many sages were present there, even in the presence of Bhishma, Drona, what to speak of, even in the presence of Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva himself was personally present. But even in that august assembly, as they say, Krishna was chosen, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was chosen for the Agra Puja, the topmost person who deserves worship by everyone. It was Supreme Lord, Krishna was chosen for that. But unfortunately, when people do not understand the position, avajananti mamudha manushim tanumashrita, because it comes in a human form, fools deride me. They do not understand the supreme position. But that same Supreme Lord, out of love, acts as an order carrier for devotees. Like if we ask, what is the difference between a waiter and a mother? Anybody would like to differentiate? Some may feel offended. I'm sorry. There is no, don't try to connect only. What is the difference between a waiter and a mother? Out of love. And waiter is duty bound. Whatever you ask, he provides. Mother, whatever you need. You've seen mothers painstakingly feeding the children. Children doesn't ask, but still the mother is feeding without asking also, over and above. Above and beyond the call of duty. That's mothers, going beyond actually. What is the difference between a horse and a father for a child? If the child sits on the horse, he can go to a destination. But if the child sits on the father's lap or on the neck of the father, when the father who is acting like a horse, where will the child get more pleasure? When there is love transmitted. What is the difference between a gardener and a millionaire who is doing gardening? A gardener who is basically doing watering the plants for his daily survival as a either as a duty or as earning. He's an employed person. But sometimes we find millionaires wearing some light clothes, and just coming out and doing gardening. And sometimes when people go and say, "Where is the owner?" he will go inside and say, "Come inside." So when a millionaire acts like a gardener, that means out of hobby. He's not doing out of so that he'll earn his bread and butter from that, but he is doing out of hobby. He's not bound by that. That's the difference between karma and lila. Karma, we are bound. Krishna, when he performs lila, he's not bound by that. Swarat, he has that voluntary choice. Similarly, what is the difference between a chariot driver and Krishna who is driving the chariot? There are so many chariot drivers. There are so many drivers. Sometimes owners may not even know the names of their drivers, isn't it? But when Krishna acts as a chariot driver, that's something very unique. Something, because this is not out of, he's not employed, he's acting out of love. We may say even Kamsa acted as a chariot driver for Devaki out of love only. But that love was very short lived. It did not even end, it did not even continue till the end of the journey. The love was so short lived. As soon as there was Akashvani, the eighth child of Mother Devaki will be the cause of your death. That's all. Now, chariot driver, forget it. Now, instead of the whip, take the sword. It just changed in a matter of seconds. But Krishna, acting as a chariot driver for Arjuna, is purely out of love. In fact, Krishna already proclaimed, I'm not going to fight, I'm not going to take sides in the battlefield. And Arjuna chose Krishna, even without any, what do you call, weapons or army. Arjuna chose for Krishna. And Krishna is reciprocating with him, acting out of love, taking him right in the middle of the battlefield and showing him, here is Bhishma, here is Drona. In one sense, sort of inciting, do you know who is present on the opposite side of the army? And of course, Arjuna also sort of gets swayed away. But Krishna, when Krishna does act as an order carrier, this is purely out of love. We see baby Krishna, little Krishna, trying to lift the sandals. It's like as if he's struggling to hold the sandals on his head of Nanda Maharaj. When Nanda Maharaj says, "Bring my sandals," trying to hold it. Similarly, Nemai we can see. So as a small child, when they act, it gives love. The mood which is there is prevalent, which is love. He's showing that I am so happy to carry out the orders of my devotee. When my devotee gives some order, I am very pleased. Just like Prabhupada says in the purport, just like a father feels pleased to carry out the order of the child. When the child asks something, and the father fulfills that, carries out that order, he feels very pleased. The person who is carrying out the order feels pleased. This can happen only in love, right? That's why it is described. Bhagavatam explains, Saratya Parashada Sevana Sakhya Dautya Virasananugama Stavana Pramanam Snigdheshu Pandaso Jagat Pranatimscha Vishnur Bhaktim Karoti Nripatis Charanaravinde. What all Krishna did for Arjuna, for the Pandavas. Sarathya, he became a chariot driver. Sarathya, Parashada was an associate. Dautya, I was a messenger, night watchman. So many things Krishna did out of love for the Pandavas. Snigdheshu, because they were malleable, flexible, malleable devotees. Snigdheshu Pandasu, Jagat Pranademscha Vishnu. Parishad Maharaj says, Bhaktim Karoti Nripatis. Why will we not have our hearts attracted towards him by performing devotional service? Bhaktim actually acts out of love for his devotee. It was right here in South India. There was a king there was an old lady who was serving this. When she was serving, eventually for a long period of time, this Alvar benedicted her by making the reciprocation as from the side of the Alvar. He wanted to do something for this old hunchbacked lady. And this lady became so beautiful that the king was attracted. The king got married to her. And as time passed, the king saw that he is getting old, but his queen, the beauty of this queen is not fading. And so he was more surprised, what is happening here? This is mismatch. And then he asked, how is it that your beauty is not fading? And she explains that I was blessed by Thirumersi Alavar Kanikandan, his servant is the associate is also that disciple. So then king said, I also want to get the same benediction. I also want to look youth, ever fresh. And then they approach Kanikandan. And then the king asks him to glorify himself, glorify me and give me this benediction that I also can be youthful. And Kanikandan says, no, my master will not do this just because you are a king. And we are not here to glorify the king. We are here to glorify the Supreme Lord. So when he says all that, the king says, no, get out of the kingdom. No, you're not supposed to live here. You don't have a right to stay here in this kingdom if you don't glorify me. So Kanikandan goes and says to his master, Tirumersi Alvar, that I have been asked to go out of the kingdom. So Tirumersi Alvar says, if you are going out, then I also come out. I'll also come along with you. Then if you don't have a place here, I'm I'm accompanying you. And then Tirumersi Alvar tells his lord, Surtikul, wind up. Like a chatai, like how a chatai is wind up. Similarly, a lord along with Anantashesh, they are like winding up, and like we take a small bag, the Lord, he's carrying the Lord, says, let's leave. If I am not here, what are you going to do here? No? Let's leave. They leave this place. Then there is a place which is called Orirukai, where one day they stayed. They just left the kingdom. Then the same night there was like sort of ill omens which was there in the kingdom, and the king understood something is wrong, and they call back Kanikandan. Kanikandan is called. So Tirumarsi Alvar says, then I'm also coming back. And the Lord says, I'm also coming back with you. So here in Kanchipuram, there is this beautiful deity. In Tamil, they say, Sonna Vanna Saida Perumal. He acted as he was told. He was told, Suratikol, come, become a bag and let's leave. And again, after one night, he was told to come back. The Lord can say, what is this? You're just asking me to come wherever you want. But again, he comes back. And then the Lord changes his position, as they say. From generally, you find Ranganath, lotus head on this side and lotus feet this side. And here, the Lord, when he comes back, he shifts his position, lotus head here and lotus feet this side. Also called as Yathotkari. Whatever was told, he did. This is how Krishna acts out of love. We should not take it for granted. When the Lord acts out of love, we should not take it for granted. But the Lord loves to extend for his devotee. Just like Arjuna had asked Krishna to take the chariot up till Jayadratha. Krishna was acting as a chariot driver. So Arjuna, the previous day when he had taken the vow that by tomorrow's sunset, before the sun sets, I take a vow to kill Jayadratha. So what he expected from Krishna? To take the chariot till Jayadratha, because later is his task. He has to shoot the arrows. So he expected Krishna to take the chariot till Jayadratha, which also was a Herculean task. Because the entire Kaurav army was sort of standing like a wall, sort of standing so much layers of protection was there for Jayadratha. Entire protection was employed there. And Krishna, sort of, we can say, pierced through that. But Krishna did not stop there. Krishna could have said, I have now taken the chariot, now you're in front of Jayadratha, do whatever you want. No, Krishna actually did so much more. He made all the arrangements. He's making the arrangements for the sun to get covered, to look apparently as if sun has set. Now you may say, okay, he did this much. Did he stop there? Then Krishna is now again lifting the clouds, arranging for the clouds to be lifted. Now again the sun is shining, and now Krishna is telling, shoot. Not only that, then Krishna is telling, shoot in such a way that his head doesn't fall on the ground. The head should go and fall in the lap of his father who is doing some tapasya in some place. How much Krishna is doing. He is not simply doing whatever he was told. In fact, Arjuna slept peacefully that previous night. Krishna could not sleep. Arjuna took a vow and said, yes, tomorrow I will do it. Krishna is worried. How will you do it? Hmm? Krishna is not only just ready to carry out the orders, Krishna is ready to extend. When there is love, just like, when a small baby cries at 2 in the night, 2 a.m. in the night, or 12 in the midnight, the mother doesn't ask, is this a time to cry? Mother not seeing the watch, mother is only seeing the lotus face of the child. But that's what the mother's attraction is. She is not seeing the time. Those who are calculative will see the time and then look at the face and then say, shut up. But when there is love, then you just extend. And that's what the Lord does for his devotees. And as Prabhupada explains in this purport, and of course, our Bhishma Dev is talking about the merciful glance. The merciful glance of the Lord, he actually diminished the duration of life of his enemies. Hmm. So one is a merciful, how the either the duration of life or the material life can get diminished. Like we see the sons of Sagar, 60,000 sons of Sagar, when they had gone to search for their brother. Hmm. Sons of Sagar had gone to search for their brother, and they dug the earth. Eventually, what had happened was the horse was stolen by Indra and found later to be found at the ashram of Kapila Muni. So these 60,000 sons of Sagar Maharaj, they are digging the earth, eventually coming to this particular place where it is described Kapila Muni just glances. And of course, Prabhupada also explains in the purport as Mahad Vyatikrama, because they felt that Kapila Muni is the one who has stolen the horse. They sort of mentally accused Kapila Muni has stolen the horse. And as a part of that, he just he just opened his eyes, and that was sufficient. And Prabhupada explained the fire in their bodies, they just burnt themselves. They just burnt, finished. Mahadvyati Krama. That's also explained as the offense. And of course, the famous pastime we know about how when Kalayavan entered the cave, Krishna channelized, we can say, maneuvered, and in such a way that when Kalayavan entered inside the cave, he thought Krishna is hiding, as if like sometimes in hostels it happens. If you are some guest is coming, whatever is there in your cupboards and things like that. Finally, one nice blanket will come, you know, and the guest who is very intelligent and seasoned, the first thing he will do is see what is behind the blanket. It's like covers up. So when Kalayavan enters inside the cave, he thinks, "Oh, Krishna is hiding," and he kicks him. And when Muchukunda, who was there, when he just opens his eyes, merciful glance, just opened his eyes, that the merciful glance was sufficient to burn Kalayavan. That's their merciful glance. Here it is described, the merciful glance diminishes the life duration of life of the enemies. That means what? Just by Krishna's presence, the those who died on the battlefield, they actually got salvation. Next four more verses in 39, you will find how Prabhupada explains in the translation itself, it's there. Those who saw Krishna on the battlefield, they attained their original form. Just four more verses, 39th verse in the same chapter. They attained their original form. In other places in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described those who left, left their bodies in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, because they are seeing Krishna, they attained salvation, they attained liberation. Anybody who died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, tathaiva chanye naraloka veera. There it is described, netrai pibanto nayanabhiramam, netrai pibanto nayanabhiramam. It's like drinking. Netrai pibanto nayanabhiramam, parthasthaputa padamapukarya. Parthasthraputa. They were first purified by the arrows of Arjuna. So two-way step. It was a two-way step for the enemies. First, they are getting purified by Arjuna's arrows. Second, they are getting liberated by looking at the beautiful face of Krishna. And that is how all those who left their bodies in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they attained liberation, salvation. Now we may say, if dying in presence of Lord is so important, like nowadays we are talking about, particularly tomorrow there is grand celebration of Ram Janmabhoomi. So much celebrations it has. The whole atmosphere is Ramamay, like consciousness of Lord Ram. So there was this Marich who thought, instead of dying in Ravana's hands, let me die in the hands of Ram. He also thought about dying in the presence of the Lord. Marich died in the presence of the Lord. Eventually, of course, when Ravana tried to persuade him, initially he was like so fearful. Already he had one episode. Already he had one interaction with Lord Ram in his earlier days. When an arrow was shot, it's like even a blunt arrow was shot, he was taken kilometers away. That was so much fear was instilled in his heart, in his minds. He was not able to stand. As soon as he would hear Ra, he would run away. If next Ma comes, he cannot stand that. He's like so afraid, so paranoid, actually, panic. That was a fear that he had. And Ravana is telling him, I want to abduct his wife. Maricha says, which enemy has given you this advice? Which enemy has given you this advice? And then Maricha thinks, anyway, Ravana is going to kill me. Ravana said, either you follow my instructions, otherwise, I'm going to kill you right now. Maricha thinks, at least let me die in the hands of Ram. At least better than dying in the hands of Ravan. So he agrees to do that. But of course, we may say, in one sense, it was better than dying in the hands of Ravan. But if you see the principle, he acted against. He acted in a way which was basically displeasing Ram. He actually spoke as if in the voice of Ram, that he is calling out for Lakshman and Sita. That means he was faithful to Ravan only till end. And that is the reason why we find, although Marich died in the presence of the Lord, he is not as glorious, or of course he's still condemned. Or the only thing better is he chose to die in the hands of Lord. He had some understanding that Lord Ram is Supreme Personality. That much understanding he had. But he was not able to apply that properly. Whereas in the case of Jatayu, apparently he was ready to die, not even in the hands of Lord, in the hands of enemy, in the hands of Ravan, ready to lay his life. And eventually the Supreme Lord again reciprocates, comes to him. At the factual end, we see Jatayu leaves his body on the lap of Lord Ram. And eventually Lord Ram performs his funeral rites as if like a son performs for his father, the Supreme Lord's reciprocation. So dying in presence of the Lord is important, but dying for the purpose of Lord is more important. Otherwise, somebody may try to misuse, just like Marich trying to misuse. Oh, I died in front of Lord. He thinks I'm going back to Godhead. No. But Jatayu, apparently ready to die even at the hands of Ravan, but he is dying for the cause of Lord, for the purpose of the Lord, in order to assist the Lord. That's why Prabhupada says, even when Krishna is killing his enemies, he is still all good. That means whether Krishna is killing, whether Krishna is stealing, whether Krishna is running away, anything that Krishna does, he is still all good. If somebody is stealing, Krishna is doing Makhanjur. Even in stealing, whether he's stealing butter, or whether he's stealing clothes, or whether he's stealing hearts, whatever he's stealing, he is still glorious. And even when he's killing, like Prabhupada says, that these very soldiers who are dying in the battlefield, if they died at their homes, they would not be getting salvation. They would not be getting liberation. So many people anyway die, right? By default. eventually. Mrityu sarva harascharam. And here Krishna is saying, by dying in the presence of the Supreme Lord, that is the benefit that they are getting. All those who died on the battlefield are getting salvation, liberation. That's the greatness of the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying the Lord is all good, absolute. Anything he does, whether it is stealing, whether it is killing, whether it is any activity he does, he still remains all good. When it comes to Krishna, people may have some accusations. Outside people may have some accusations considering Krishna does some so-called immoral activities. No? They think like that. But Lord Ram is known as Maryada Purushottam. Very difficult to find any stigma, any black spot. But somehow people still find, even in Maryada Purushottam, people try to find some faults. One of the most famous is banishing Mother Sita. Even devotees sometimes have difficulty. Why? Why? And the other one is famous one is Vali, killing of Vali. Why Lord Ram killed Vali hiding from behind? He did not even face him. In fact, Vali, when he's about to leave his body, he is making the same accusation to Lord Ram. What is this? I knew Tara already informed me about your arrival and your friendship with Sugriva. I knew you would be there, but I knew because of your character, you would not interfere in my personal fight with my brother. This is Vali's accusations. Why did you interfere? I did not do anything wrong to you. Why did you attack me? One is, why did you attack me? Second is, why did you attack me hiding? So like this, he put so much of accusations. And Lord Ram very beautifully explains to him, at the end of which even Vali accepts, yes, what is happening is what happened was perfect. In fact, at the end, Vali says, I am happy at least to die in your presence. This much his consciousness was uplifted in the presence of Lord Ram. But people who don't read the conversations, people who don't go through the scriptures, still ask the same question which Vali asked, because they have not progressed further. Same question. So Lord Ram says, it's like just like Bharat is ruling Ayodhya, and I am roaming in the forests. So as the Kshatriya class, we are here in charge for maintaining the peace in the forest as well. One of the most one of the biggest faults from of Vali is that he had abducted the wife of his younger brother. Sugriva's wife, generally a younger brother's wife is considered to be like a daughter. Younger brother's wife he abducted, and he was keeping her like his own wife. And at some places, it is people sometimes ask, instead of Sugriv, Ram could have taken help of Vali. Vali was more powerful. Vali was so powerful that he would keep Ravan in his hands, and he would do Sandhya Vandanam, Gayatri in one place, and then he would go to another place. So Vali was so powerful, but Ram chose not to take support of Vali. If Vali himself has taken somebody else's wife, and I am going to ask him to recover my wife, this will be against moral principles. But he chose to befriend Sugriva. That's what he did. And eventually the Lord Ram says, just like Kshatriyas are allowed, so they have some license for hunting. So when they are hunting, animals are, when you are hunting animals, you can be hiding behind the trees and hunt and shoot at them. And you all are basically vanaras. So doing this hunting, hiding behind, is not considered to be a serious fault. Very important. Vali had a great benediction. Anybody he faces, of course, Vali is said to be son of Indra's Amsh. So he was benedicted. So Valmiki Ramayana says he had that special jewel necklace that he was wearing, which was giving him the strength. And other scriptures explain in terms of anybody who would face, he would get half of the strength of the opponent. That means he has half of the opponent's strength plus his strength, which itself is sufficient. Even without the half of the opponent's strength, Wali himself was so powerful. What to speak of his strength full and opponent's strength half. So that means, technically speaking, it was not feasible for, if anybody comes in front, his half strength is gone, plus Wali's strength. So this was an amazing arrangement of the Lord, that, hiding behind a tree, Lord Ram is doing the needful. At the end itself, it is described, Lord Ram says, if you feel you're not satisfied by these explanations, I'm ready to remove the arrow. And that's the time when Wali says, no, I think now I also come to my senses. Now I regret that I have taken the wife of my younger brother. I regret for all the activities. His ego was not able to accept during Sugriva's time. But now in the presence of Ram, there was this instant purification happening, and he was consciousness was getting uplifted, eventually saying that I am pleased to die in your presence. So the Lord, anything he does is still all good. One classic example, I'll just end with small. One classic example, and one more small theme is there. The classic example is Lord Ram telling Vibhishan to perform last rites for Ravana. Vibhishan himself was not ready. His own brother was not ready. What a demoniac person he was. But Lord Ram, you see, all good, all absolute personality. How much anger Lord Ram could have had against Ravan, who had abducted his own wife, Mother Lakshmi, Mother Sita. How much anger he could have had. The moment he was killed, he's informing Vibhishan, soul of Ravana. That's why hate the sin and not the sinner. Some scriptures say, and our acharyas go beyond. Hate the sin and love the sinner. Hate the sin and love the sinner. So once the person has left his body, whatever activities he did within that body, now the soul is transmigrating into further, it's progressing. Why to have hatred towards? That's why, especially when a person has left, people speak very good things about them. Bahut acha tha. And they don't want to get further into any more further incriminations. So Lord Ram, just see how all good he is. Even for Ravana, he's telling Vibhishan, you please perform the funeral rites. He has to progress further. That much, there is no malice, there is no envy. Even when the Lord is killing, he is still benefiting those whom he is killing. That's the powerful nature of the Lord. And finally, the last section, sub theme, which is cultivating attraction for the Lord, which is what Bhishma is doing here. Lying on the battlefield, he's just pouring out so much attraction that he has. Whole life he has been on the side of Kauravas. So now it's just oozing out. All the attraction which was pent up, it's just oozing out. And he's saying, let my mind be attracted towards the beautiful face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me invest my consciousness. Same, just like Mother Kunti is praying, Ratim Udvatad, Gangai Vogam Udanvati. Just like Ganges flows uninterrupted towards the ocean. In a similar way, let my mind, let my consciousness completely get attracted towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is not something which can happen automatically. By default, there is always gravity. By default, things go down. That means we have to take some efforts to uplift our consciousness. Bhishma is at the end of every prayer, he says saying, let me invest my mind, let me invest my consciousness on Krishna. His further and further, his voluntary choice is exercising that. By default, our consciousness, if we don't endeavor to uplift, as Prabhupada used to say, we are swimming upstream. Right? When we are swimming upstream, when we don't put efforts, by default we are coming down. That means when we put efforts, at least we remain where we are. That's the least. If not, and if we put more efforts, then we continue further. Even for maintenance, there is struggle. Right? That is how this consciousness talks about. So Yudhishthira, Bhishma Dev is saying, let me invest my mind, let me invest my consciousness on Krishna. He wants to withdraw from everything else. And let there be complete focus. For us, we have to, Prabhupada has given this beautiful process by which we can actually cultivate this principle of attraction towards the Supreme Lord. The whole morning program, the wonderful temple that has been created, it's a whole facility for ourselves to put ourselves in the midst of the devotees, in the midst of the Lord, in the midst of the kirtans, in the midst of chanting the holy names. All we are doing is somehow or other get attracted towards the Supreme Lord. The sadhana that we are performing is ultimately an effort to show, this is our small effort to get attracted towards the Supreme Lord. Mai asakta manah partha yogam yunjan mad ashraya asamshayam samagram mam yatha nyasasi tat shrunu. So Krishna is saying, just here you will develop attraction. Mai asakta, you will become attracted towards me. And that is why Prabhupada, Nityam Bhagavatha Sevaya, he's arranging all this, the facility that Srila Prabhupada has created, the standardization that Prabhupada has made is so wonderful that even after so many years, we are benefiting. If we put ourselves in the process, the benefit that we get is unlimited, because it's not easy just at the time of death. We just say, oh, I want to remember Krishna. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevara. For that, we have to practice throughout our life. And the temples, the association of devotees, the kirtans is giving us that opportunity to invest our mind, to withdraw our mind from worldly activities and invest our consciousness towards Krishna and Krishna's services, towards the devotees, service of the devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Very grateful to all the management devotees who had given me this opportunity for service. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any comments or any questions anybody has? But you're a devotee, better.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Regarding Bhishma Dev's passing away, you mentioned one point that of withdrawing the senses. So in that you mentioned that whenever we come to the temple, we have to withdraw our consciousness from the outside world, and then with that consciousness we have to be in the temple. But I have a problem where as soon as we come out of the temple, the entire thing remanifests again, and then we again get back into that whole. How do we control that even after the outside the gates of the temple?
I'll tell something to please Narari Prabhu. You can remain more in the temple. So if we stay more in the temple, all of us admit, right? The moment we go out of the gates, we have to struggle. Once we are here, it's easier. How many of us have the experience when we go to yatras, dhams, chanting 16 rounds is easier. 32 is also okay. But when we come back to our Prabhu Datta Desh, whatever our locations are, and then we are like 16 rounds, we are struggling. So that's the effect of the vibrations. The temple is a place where that sanctity is being maintained, and it's all of our collective responsibility to ensure that we don't pollute this atmosphere, and we contribute further to increase the sanctity of this particular place so that everybody benefits. So even after coming here, if we talk worldly activities, then this place also will get all that polluted things will come here also. So we maintain the sanctity. And basically, the more we practice, it's ultimately a it is ultimately a process of cultivation. So that's why the example of the tortoise is given. Ability to withdraw and ability to extend whenever needed. So when we know that is definitely there, that is why the complete answer is, one is, when we come to the temple, take full advantage, and when we go back home, make our home into a temple. So either you come to the temple or you're at home, the atmosphere is of the temple. The atmosphere is spiritualized. And if you have problem in the journey, then equip yourself with uh, hearing lectures, equip yourself with kirtans, equip yourself with associating with the devotees, and on the journey you can execute a lot of services, some coordination services, to ensure that you are staying fixed in Krishna consciousness. So we know we are vulnerable at some place, and at some places we are feeling very safe and protected. So like a small child feels the maximum shelter as soon as he goes and embraces the mother, hugs the mother, he feels that protection. Similarly, we should feel that protection in the temple atmosphere, in the association of Vaishnavas, in the presence of kirtans, and simultaneously create that similar atmosphere at home, so that you don't feel as if I want to run away from home only to the temple. I can practice spiritual life only in the temple. It should also not be that way. So that the temple has that sanctity, and at home also, when the atmosphere is spiritualized, you feel protected, but still temple stands out. Still, temple has the sanctity which is there in the temple, which helps collectively, individually as well as collectively. We should try to take advantage. Thank you. Hare Krishna. You can decide who.
Thank you for the class. So you're talking about dying for the purpose of the Lord is more important than dying in the presence of the Lord. So all the soldiers who were fighting in the battle of Kurukshetra, their purpose was they were with Duryodhana, right? But then you mentioned that they were purified by the arrows. So what happened with Marich? He was not purified by the arrow of Lord Ram, because they were also not fighting for the purpose of the Lord. The soldiers in the battle of Kurukshetra, they were fighting for Duryodhana's sake, but they attained Sarupya Mukti. Or so how do you understand?
So usually enemies, it's not that they go to Goloka. When you say liberation, there are 5 kinds of liberation. So that's why they are not there for service. They get liberated, but the liberation is actually a bonus, like a byproduct, like how Haridas Thakur said, Namabhas, it's like a byproduct. So like that, liberation is a byproduct. It's not the thing to be achieved. So when even dying in presence of Lord Ram, but if you see the detail, he actually gave so much pain to Ram, which is what we are saying, it is against the purpose. So because he died in the presence of Ram, by Ram's arrow, obviously he will get that share of benefit. There is no doubt on that. As we are saying about anybody who dies in the battlefield, he'll get that benefit. But that's not the ultimate which devotees are aspiring for. That's why we say we are more concerned about dying for the purpose of the Lord. Not only dying, living also. Living and dying for the purpose of the Lord.
But they all attend Sarupya Mukti. In one purport, Prabhupada says that they attend. So they go back to Vaikuntha, where they have the form like the Lord. Right?
That's Krishna's benevolence. For an enemy, it's like for Putana, Aho Bhakyam Stanakalakotam Dhatri. If for Putana, one who came to kill, Krishna can make her as a Dhatri, as a nurse, what to speak of devotees? Like that. That's Krishna's benevolence, magnanimity. Hare Krishna. Here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So very similar to the previous question, we see that Bhishma Dev passed away in the presence of the Lord, but the understanding is not actually for the cause of the Lord, because the whole battlefield of the whole Kurukshetra was because he could not protect Draupadi during the Asat Sabha. So how do we understand? Because we glorify that Bhishma's passing away is very glorious, but it apparently looks like not that glorious.
Okay. Bhishma's passing is a standard of how a person should pass away. Bhishma is considered to be standardized. When Haridas Thakur passes away, everybody remembered this is like Bhishma's passing away. When Srila Prabhupada is passing away, devotees are remembering this is like Bhishma's passing away. This is like Haridas Thakur's passing away. His standard, gold standard, we say, this is Bhishma. Because apparently what we are seeing here, there is a big difference between Marich and Bhishma. There is no question of comparison in this. Marich was an outright demon who at some point of time after getting Ram's arrows, he took to a recluse life. Apparently sort of become a mendicant. But he was in fear of Ram. He was not a devotee as such. And when you talk about Bhishma, Bhishma comes in the category of Mahajan, one of the 12 glorious Mahajans. So he knew that being on the side of Kauravas is not pleasing Krishna. I mean, in this, from the perspective of, I am not directly worshipping Krishna, but he was executing the will of Krishna. Because Krishna is wanting to show a person of the caliber of Bhishma. What do you mean by the caliber? First is Ichha Mrityu. If you have a soldier who has Ichha Mrityu, even a soldier, what to speak of a commander, what to speak of a personality who is like a one-man army himself. This is the caliber of Bhishma from a prowess perspective. In terms of fighting, in terms of the benedictions that he had. But his heart, I mean, the one of the main reasons why Krishna is putting him here is to show a person of this caliber, Bhishma's caliber, so much strength that he has, so much military warfare that he knows, and the Ichamriti that he has. In spite of that, if he takes side of adharma, that party will lose. Krishna had to communicate a very big message through Bhishma. So Bhishma is executing the will of the Lord. Just like we can compare with Akrura. Akrura was in the assembly of Kamsa. Kamsa is telling, go and get Krishna and Balaram. Apparently executing the instruction of Kamsa. And he knows why Kamsa is calling Krishna and Balaram for a fight, and eventually he is trying to kill them. He is executing that order, but within their hearts, they are pure devotees. He is meditating. Krishna knows I am a devotee. Krishna knows although I am with Kamsa, but Krishna knows that my devotional self. So Bhishma is a gold standard for passing away because of his consciousness. Just look at this beautiful prayers. Who can pray this on a bed of arrows? In a bed of arrows, in today's time, they will say mercy killing, Nikalo, not arrows, I don't want to survive only. He is just lying there, waiting for Krishna's arrival, waiting for it is described all the sages from all over the world in a time when there was no social media, when there was no advertisement. All the sages from all over the world gathered to witness Bhishma's passing away. Demigods had gathered in the sky to witness Bhishma's passing away. This is gold standard, topmost. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Should I close?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for a wonderful class. Bhishmadeva left the body, looking at the Lord in the presence of the Lord, focusing his mind on the Lord. But still, Prabhupada mentions that he reached one of the Vaikuntha planets, where Parthasarthi is a predominant deity. How to understand this? Whether and what kind of relationship he had with the Lord in the heart to heart, and what extra qualifications one needs to go to Golaka. This is
Require a separate class. Just to tell in short, there are 5 rasas, 5 primary rasas, 7 secondary rasas. The 5 primary rasas we all know, Dasya, Bhav, and all that, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, and all that, and 7 secondary rasas. So Bhishma is in the Virya ras, no? By fighting with Krishna. Just like when Krishna is, even Jai Vijay, no? When Krishna feels that I want to have a fight with devotees, if he has a fight, it's like Hanuman. If Ram requests, I want to have a fight, Hanuman will say, I am happy. I am just here to serve you. So when he wants to relish that, so he needs somebody with Viryaras. Jay and Vijay fulfill that when they come in the form of demons for a short period of time. Similarly, here Bhishma is exhibiting this Viryaras. Prabhupada describes when he shoots arrows, they are as if garlanding Krishna, giving flowers. When we offer flowers, that is how when Bhishma is shooting arrows, even if blood is oozing out from the body is getting wounded, look at the consciousness of Bhishma is praying. Just see how beautiful Krishna looks. Even when he is holding that chariot, you see who can absorb his mind in someone who is taking a chariot wheel to come to attack him, right? Even the eyelid closes. Our hands come and we'll try it from protection. He is opening his 2 arms and witnessing this beautiful. In fact, he says, even Arjuna is not getting to see what I am seeing. Arjuna is not able to see this beautiful scene, the cover page of Bhagavad Gita that we have. I am able to see Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is driving the chariot, and Arjuna on the chariot. What a beautiful sight this is. Similarly, Bhishma is saying, when he is taking the chariot to attack him, he is meditating on the sweat droplets on Krishna's beautiful body. And his hair is disheveled. Krishna's curly hairs disheveled. And the droplets are like pearls. He's meditating on that, the Pitambar of Krishna. And he's like absorbed. He's like, I am ready to leave. He's feeling honored that Krishna is here to take my life in the presence of the Supreme Lord. So Bhishma is extremely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and we have to be very grateful to Bhishma for playing this role. It's very difficult. We can perform in drama for some time, be acting like a demon. But to be playing this role, Bhishma agreed. That's to fulfill the desires of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I think they are getting late.
Now, my question is not this, Prabhu. What relationship he had with Krishna, whether he was in neutral mode or was Dasya mode or Sakya mode?
Prabhu, I'll connect with you individually.
We can take it offline.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
And why he did not go to Golaka, why he went to Vaikuntha? These are the questions.
We can take it offline, Prabhuji.
It's for everyone also can understand.
We have some other things coming up, Prabhuji. We have to be there. Thank you. So, those who all do not know Prabhuji. Prabhuji was in Bangalore earlier. Right now, Prabhuji is there at Pune. So, His Grace Shankar Pandit Prabhu. Prabhuji has a quick introduction. He's done his BE in computer science and got connected to the devotees during his graduation studies. And from there on, there was no looking back. During that time, Prabhuji was rigorously trained in the scriptures. And currently, Prabhuji is working in the IT industry. Now, being part of Pune community, multiple services Prabhuji is involved in. Like some of them services are like service board, the marriage board, counseling, kitchen related services, DT related services, events and crowd management. And Prabhuji, Mataji is also here, Her Grace Yugal Priya Mataji. Mataji also has similar qualities. So Mataji is nicely practicing her spiritual life, and multiple services Mataji is also involved in. I would name some of them. There are weekly discourses, thrice a week on scripture for ladies, holistic care and cultivation for ladies since more than a decade, conducting annual girls camp, and that's since 14 years, involved in the girls' voice, DT related services, counseling families, ISKCON events management also. So let us all thank Prabhuji and also request that Prabhuji keeps coming here often. And Mataji is a wonderful cook, as endorsed by Prabhuji also. So let us all thank Prabhuji and express our gratitude. And the Kannada class today was given by His Grace Anirudh Siva Prabhu. So let us all thank both the devotees from our bottom of our heart by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have a prasadam sponsor today. Neminath Prabhu and his family have sponsored prasadam. It was their daughter Chaitanya Priya's birthday. I don't know whether they are here. Neminath Prabhu. Chaitanya Priya is here. So they are seeking blessings for this wonderful Chaitanya Priya here. So let us all once chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's another news. Madhumati Lakshmi Mataji's father, Keshav Murthy, Prabhuji, left his body on 15 January, and that was on the auspicious day of Makara Sankranti. The family is requesting prayers for the departed soul and the spiritual progress. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. That is a wonderful initiative that the temple has taken, and this is, we see the Sunday feast program. There is going to be another Sunday evening feast program, and multiple services opportunities are being launched. So we need volunteers for preaching, content assistant, and other support services. Those who are interested, those who are equipped and are available for the services on Sunday evening, every Sunday evening, please reach out to Sundarup Sham Prabhu. If there are any queries related to this exact services, please reach out to Prabhuji. Prabhuji is not here, but you all know Sundarup Sham Prabhu. Please reach out. This is specifically for Sunday evening program services, because post the temple opening, we have seen many newcomers coming up during Sunday evening. So there is a lot of opportunity for connecting and services also. So please make the fullest out of it. So Prabhuji is clarifying, devotees who want to take part of the services, they can volunteer for one Sunday. So it's not all the 4 Sundays. So they can choose whichever Sunday they want, and they can volunteer for one Sunday. And tomorrow, we all know there is this auspicious opening of the Ayodhya temple, Ram Janmabhoomi. We have arranged the Nagar Sankirtan now. We'll all go to the Nagar Sankirtan sometime. Prasadam will be served after that. So this is basically also to invite for tomorrow's program. We had announced last Sunday the elaborate program that we have tomorrow starting from 10 a.m. We're going to invite our neighbors. So devotees are requested to participate in full, but please make note that as we are going for Nagar Sankirtan, please take care of the children. So parents have to be along with the children. We'll walk in rows of 3. Do not block the traffic and do not leave the kids alone. So please take care of that. So we'll proceed for the Nagar Sankirtan now. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.